Hey everyone, and welcome back. You guys specifically requested this deep dive, and it's a big one, so we're diving into the world of Falun Gong.
Sounds great.
And to make sure we get this right, we're going straight to the source, to a book written by Li Hongzhi, who, actually founded Falun Gong.
It's a great place to start.
Yeah.
I mean, it really lays out all the core ideas, all the principles, and, the practices that are so central to Falun Gong so we can get a good, solid understanding.
Right to the foundation.
Yeah.
So our mission today is to help you, the listener, really understand what makes Falun Gong tick, how it connects to stuff you might already know, like Qigong, Buddhism, and really what makes it unique.
Yeah. And right off the bat, you'll see some intriguing ideas. Like Li Hongzhi actually says that Falun Gong offers a perspective that goes beyond what we typically think of as religion and science.
Yeah, he doesn't beat around the bush at all, does he?
No, it doesn't.
He's like straight up, this is rooted in Buddha law. This is a deeper understanding of the universe and human existence than either conventional religion or modern science can provide.
What I think is fascinating is the scope. Li Hongzhi even talks about the universe being remade 9 times, with civilizations reaching incredible, technological levels before being destroyed.
Hold on, 9 times.
That's what he says.
Like total cosmic resets.
Yeah.
Whoa.
He even points to things like prehistoric artifacts that seem way too advanced for, their time period as possible evidence. So it makes you think twice about, what we think of as history, right?
Okay. So we've got this vast ancient universe, and Falun Gong is claiming to have some deeper knowledge than we can currently access. But how does it actually work? Like, what does it involve?
Well, to understand that, I think we need to distinguish between 2 key concepts,
Sure.
Qi and Gong.
Okay, Qi, I've heard of that. It's like this vital energy that flows through everything.
Yeah. Right, but Gong is different. It represents a higher energy matter that's cultivated through practice, and this Gong gives practitioners unique abilities.
Like healing powers.
Exactly.
I've heard of that, like with Qigong and stuff.
Exactly. Li Hongzhi says that Gong allows practitioners to heal and correct abnormal states in the body.
So there's this higher energy, this Gong, that you cultivate. But how do you actually cultivate it? Like, what's the process?
This is where things get really interesting. Li Hongzhi is adamant that the most important factor isn't some, specific technique, but character cultivation.
Character cultivation, like being a good person.
Yes, but with a very, very specific framework. He says that true Gong potency, meaning the level of your power, directly results from transforming virtue through disciplined practice and moral conduct.
So it's not just about doing the exercises or the meditations, it's about how you live your life every day.
Exactly. And this ties into this really fascinating concept he calls loss and gain. So loss involves letting go of attachments to worldly things like fame, wealth, and comfort.
So detaching yourself from material possessions and like worldly desires.
Yes. But it's deeper than that.
Okay.
It's about shifting your focus from what's temporary to what's enduring, from the material to the spiritual.
I see.
And the gain in this equation is the development of Gong.
So the more you let go of those worldly attachments, the more Gong you cultivate. That's a pretty deep idea.
What I find really striking is how Li Hongzhi reevaluates what we usually consider valuable. He talks about material possessions as fleeting, while Gong is something that endures.
He even says that Gong can be converted back into material things if a practitioner, chooses to stop cultivating, which is a fascinating thought.
It is, yeah. It's like he's saying Gong is a higher form of wealth, more valuable and longer lasting than anything material.
Okay. I'm starting to see the connection between character and energy. But what exactly does it mean to cultivate good character in Falun Gong? Like, what are the specific principles that you're supposed to live by?
Well, Li Hongzhi outlines 3 core principles: truthfulness, compassion, and tolerance.
Truthfulness, compassion, tolerance. They sound pretty universal, like values a lot of people strive for.
Yeah, they are, but he defines them very specifically within the context of Falun Gong. Truth isn't just about being honest, it's about aligning yourself with the true nature of the universe.
And compassion probably goes deeper than just, feeling sorry for someone.
Right. It's about cultivating genuine empathy, kindness, and a desire to help others, even when it's difficult.
And tolerance. I'm guessing that's more than just putting up with stuff that bothers you.
Yes. Li Hongzhi describes it as being essential for cultivating great virtue. It's about enduring hardship, exercising self-restraint, and overcoming things like jealousy.
He specifically mentions jealousy.
He does. He calls it a particularly strong trait in Eastern cultures, something that holds people back from progressing spiritually.
Interesting. So these three principles, they really are the foundation of cultivating good character in Falun Gong.
Yeah.
And that strong character, that virtue, is what allows you to develop Gong, that higher energy.
Precisely. And that brings us to another key element of Falun Gong, the law wheel.
The law wheel.
What is that? Well, Li Hongzhi describes it as a spinning entity made of high-energy matter that forms in a practitioner's lower abdomen through cultivation.
So like an internal energy structure
Yes.
that develops as you practice Falun Gong.
Yes, but it's more than just a structure.
Okay.
Li Hongzhi emphasizes that the law wheel is intelligent.
Intelligent, like it has its own consciousness.
In a sense, yeah. He says it automatically absorbs energy from the universe and transforms it into Gong within the practitioner's body.
Wow. So it's constantly working to cultivate Gong, even when you're not consciously doing anything.
Yeah, it's like an internal engine for spiritual development, and it gets even more interesting.
Okay.
Li Hongzhi says that the law refines the practitioner, meaning that the law wheel itself is doing the refining, not the practitioner.
So it's not like other practices where you're like actively trying to cultivate, something like an elixir or whatever. It's more like the law wheel is working on you.
Exactly. He draws a clear distinction between Falun Gong and those, elixir cultivating practices.
Okay, so we've got this intelligent law wheel that's constantly refining you.
Right.
What else does it do?
Well, Li Hongzhi says it also provides protection.
Protection?
Yeah, shielding practitioners from negative influences and interference.
Protection from what?
He doesn't go into a lot of detail here, but he alludes to things like negative entities or energies that might try to interfere with the practitioner's progress.
Oh, that's a little spooky. So the law wheel is like a spiritual shield.
Yeah, you could say that.
Okay.
And there's another intriguing detail. He says that through the third eye, you can see different colors and symbols within the law wheel.
Wait, the third eye?
Mm-hmm.
Is that what I think it is? Like the mystical third eye?
That's exactly what he's talking about. Li Hongzhi describes it as a channel for perceiving dimensions beyond our ordinary senses, something that can be opened through cultivation.
Okay, now we're getting into some seriously esoteric territory.
Sure.
Tell me more about this third eye. Like, how does it work? What can you see with it?
Well, he describes it as opening in stages. At first, you might just see light. But as you progress, you can perceive vivid, colorful scenes in other dimensions.
So you can actually see other dimensions with this third eye.
That's what he suggests.
Wow.
But he also cautions that your level of insight depends directly on your level of cultivation.
Meaning?
Even beings who are very advanced in their practice might not grasp the ultimate truth of the universe.
So there are limitations. It's not like you just flip a switch and suddenly have all this knowledge.
Right.
It's a process.
Exactly. And he emphasizes that it's crucial to discern between true insights and misleading messages. You have to be able to tell the difference.
So there's a danger of misinterpreting what you see.
Yes, and he connects that back to character, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Your moral compass plays a crucial role in navigating these complexities and ensuring you stay on the right path.
Okay, so cultivating good character isn't just about developing Gong. It's also about being able to handle the insights and powers you develop wisely and responsibly.
Exactly. It's all interconnected.
Yeah.
Character, energy, and the ability to perceive beyond the ordinary.
This is already a lot to take in. And we've barely even scratched the surface of what Li Hongzhi discusses in his book.
You're right, there's still so much more to uncover, including the challenges practitioners might face, the concept of karma, and this phenomenon of meddling by wicked entities.
Wicked entities. Okay, now that sounds like something straight out of a horror movie. I'm definitely curious to hear more about that.
We'll delve into all of that in the next part of our deep dive.
So we've established that, cultivating good character isn't just like a nice bonus in Falun Gong. It's essential.
It's not optional.
Not just for developing Gong, but for navigating the challenges that come with it. Right. And those challenges can be pretty intense, as you mentioned last time.
Yeah.
Wicked entities, negative energies, even physical discomfort.
Yeah. Li Hongzhi, doesn't sugarcoat it.
No.
Cultivation isn't a walk in the park. But he frames these difficulties as opportunities, right?
He does.
For refining your character and purifying karma.
Exactly. He sees those challenges as chances to become a better version of yourself.
Okay, so let's talk about karmic purification for a sec. I've heard that term before, but What's the Falun Gong take on it?
Well, to understand that, I think we need to kind of dive into the concept of karma itself.
Right.
Li Hongzhi describes it as this almost like black matter,
Okay.
like a spiritual debt
I see.
that accumulates from wrongdoings.
So every time you do something bad, you get karma.
That's the basic idea.
Okay.
And according to Li Hongzhi, this karma can manifest in all sorts of ways, causing sickness, misfortune, just difficult situations in your life.
So it's not just like facing consequences in the afterlife or whatever. It has like real world impact.
That seems to be his point.
Okay.
He stresses that practitioners need to be very mindful of their actions so they don't keep building up this negative karma.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
But how do you like purify that karma? How do you get rid of it?
Well, this is where those challenges come into play. Li Hongzhi suggests that enduring hardship, facing difficult situations, holding on to your moral compass, these are all part of purifying karma, like working off that spiritual debt.
So the challenges aren't just random. They're actually serving a purpose to help you cleanse yourself.
That's what Li Hongzhi proposes. He sees them as opportunities to transform negative karma into something positive, into virtue.
So challenges equal purification.
Got it.
But what about those wicked entities you mentioned before?
Right.
Like, what are they exactly, and why are they messing with people?
Well, Li Hongzhi isn't super specific about their origins, but he describes them as entities that try to hinder a practitioner's progress. You know, throwing obstacles in their path. They might manifest as intrusive thoughts, distractions, weird dreams, even physical discomfort.
So they're like these malevolent forces that are trying to, like, knock you off your spiritual path.
That's one way to interpret it.
Right.
He even suggests that they might try to tempt practitioners with worldly desires, dangling fame or wealth to lure them away from cultivation.
Wow, that's pretty sneaky. So how do you protect yourself from these wicked entities? Does the law wheel do anything?
The law wheel definitely offers protection.
Okay.
But Li Hongxi's main advice is to really focus on cultivating that strong moral compass
Yeah.
and sticking to those core principles: truthfulness, compassion, and tolerance.
So if you're living in line with those principles, you're less vulnerable to their interference.
That's what he suggests. He even says, and I quote, "One right thought will subdue 100 evils," really emphasizing the power of your thoughts and actions in resisting them.
So it's not just about like passively enduring the challenges. It's about actively cultivating like this strong, virtuous mindset that can like fight back.
Absolutely. It's about using those challenges to make yourself stronger, purify your karma, and keep moving forward on your cultivation journey.
Okay, so challenges, karma, wicked entities trying to trip us up. But like, what about the good stuff? What can you actually achieve through cultivating Falun Gong?
Well, we already talked about developing Gong, which can lead to things like healing abilities.
Right.
But Li Hongzhi also hints at something even more profound: the development of the third eye.
Right, the third eye.
Yeah.
We touched on that briefly.
We did?
Can you tell me more about like what you can actually perceive with it?
Well, Li Hongzhi describes it as a way to see beyond the physical world, beyond the limitations of our ordinary senses.
Okay.
He talks about seeing scenes in other dimensions, even perceiving the true nature of things.
So it's not just about seeing things that are physically invisible. It's about like accessing a deeper level of reality.
That's how I understand it.
Okay.
He also mentions that the third eye can help you know people's fates, see the future, even see through illusions.
Wow, that's like having access to hidden knowledge. Incredible powers.
It is, but he's also careful to emphasize that the third eye's powers are directly linked to how much you've cultivated.
Meaning?
The more you cultivate your character and develop Gong, the more you can see and understand.
So it's not just like you flip a switch and you suddenly have all these abilities. It's a gradual process.
Precisely. And he stresses the importance of using these powers wisely and responsibly, which again comes back to that emphasis on character cultivation.
Right, because without like a strong moral foundation, it's easy to imagine those powers being misused or even becoming a distraction.
Exactly. Li Hongzhi makes it very clear that the ultimate goal of Falun Gong is not to amass supernatural powers.
Yeah.
It's to achieve spiritual enlightenment and become a better, more compassionate person.
So it's about transforming yourself from the inside out, not just getting cool abilities.
That's a great way to put it.
Okay.
It's about developing both your inner world and your outer actions,
Yeah.
aligning them with the true nature of the universe.
Okay, that makes sense. I'm still curious, though, about the specifics of this third eye development. Like, what does it actually look like? How do you know when it's opening?
Well, he describes a fascinating progression of experiences, starting with seeing light and gradually leading to the perception of scenes in other dimensions.
So it's like these hidden realities are gradually revealed to you as you progress.
Exactly. And he mentions a fascinating detail. He says that the quality of what you see through the third eye is influenced by the amount of essential kai you have cultivated.
Essential kai, is that different from regular kai?
It seems to be a more refined form of kai, directly linked to your spiritual progress.
Right.
He says those with less essential kai might only see things in black and white, while those with more might perceive them in vivid color.
So the more you cultivate, the clearer your perception becomes.
That's what he suggests. And he even hints at the possibility of eventually developing a true eye.
A true eye.
That allows you to see even more deeply into the nature of reality.
Okay, now I'm really interested. What can you see with a true eye?
He doesn't get into specifics in the excerpts we have, but it definitely seems to suggest, a higher level of perception.
Yeah.
Maybe even a direct connection to the divine.
Whoa. This is all pretty mind-blowing.
Yeah.
But we're getting a little ahead of ourselves.
A little bit.
We still haven't talked about some of the more, practical aspects of cultivating Falun Gong,
Right.
like the exercises involved.
You're right. Well, Li Hongzhi describes 5 sets of exercises. Buddha stretching 1,000 arms, Flynn standing stance, coursing between the 2 poles, Flynn cosmic orbit, and reinforcing supernatural powers.
Okay, so 5 exercises.
Right.
What are they like? Are they physically demanding?
They seem to be a combination of gentle movements, postures, and meditations.
Okay.
He emphasizes performing them in a relaxed, natural way, free from tension or strain.
So it's not about pushing yourself to the limit.
No.
More about finding a state of ease.
That seems to be his philosophy.
Yeah.
He even says that people who are weak or chronically ill can adapt the exercises to their own abilities, focusing on quality over quantity.
That's good to know. It makes it sound more accessible to people of different, fitness levels and stuff.
Yeah.
But how do these exercises actually work? How do they cultivate Gong and develop the third eye?
Well, he doesn't go into a ton of anatomical detail,
Right.
but he suggests that the exercises help open up the body's energy channels, allowing Qi to flow more freely.
So, clearing blockages and creating a more harmonious flow.
That's one way to look at it.
Okay.
He also mentions that the exercises help to refine the body's essential Qi, which we talked about earlier, and ultimately transform the physical body into something more spiritually aligned.
Okay, that makes sense. But how does this connect to the development of the third eye? How do physical exercises lead to that?
Well, Li Hongzhi suggests that by refining the essential Qi and opening up those energy channels, the exercises create the right conditions for the third eye to gradually open and develop. It's like preparing the soil for spiritual perception to blossom.
I see. So the exercises are kind of like prepping the body and mind for the awakening of the third eye?
That's a great way to put it.
Okay.
And he emphasizes that the process is gradual, requiring patience, perseverance, and a commitment to those core principles of Falun Gong.
Okay, so there's a lot more to these exercises than just moving your body around. It's about cultivating energy, refining your character, and ultimately preparing yourself for a deeper level of spiritual awareness.
Exactly. It's a holistic practice that involves the body, mind, and spirit all working together.
This is all incredibly fascinating. But I think we've reached a good stopping point for now. We've covered a lot of ground.
We have.
Karma, wicked entities, the third eye, the 5 exercises.
Yeah.
And in the next part of our deep dive, we're going to explore some of the more nuanced aspects of Li Hongzhi's teachings,
Right.
including his perspectives on Qigong, Buddhism, and the nature of the universe.
It's going to be good.
Okay, so we're back for the final part of our deep dive into Falun Gong.
Here we are.
It's been pretty fascinating so far, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, it's a lot to unpack.
We've gone through the core principles, the challenges, even some of those really intriguing rewards that Li Hongzhi talks about.
Yeah, and now we're kind of getting to the heart of how Falun Gong relates to, those practices you might have heard of, Qigong and Buddhism.
Right.
You've seen how unique it is.
Yeah.
But where does it fit in the bigger picture?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
Li Hongzhi definitely walks this interesting line between acknowledging those roots, but also emphasizing that it has its own distinct qualities. He actually explains that it originates from a practice called Falun Gong Dafa within the Buddhist system.
Falun Gong Dafa. It's all about cultivating the law wheel, just like we've been talking about. So the connections are definitely there. But Li Hongzhi is careful to point out that Falun Gong isn't just a branch of Buddhism.
So it's more like its own unique path, even though it shares some lineage.
Exactly. And he even hints that in the past, Falun Gong was much more like secretive,
Go on.
only for those with like exceptionally high character and, tons of preparation. And now, he suggests, it's more widely available.
Wow, so it's like a hidden practice within Buddhism that's been, like, opened up.
Yeah, you could say that.
That's pretty wild. What about Kaigong?
Right.
I mean, we've been talking about Qi and Gong,
Yeah,
so obviously there's some connection there.
absolutely. Li Hongzhi acknowledges that Falun Gong is a type of Kaigong, but he lays out some key differences that set it apart.
Okay, like what?
Well, for example, remember how we talked about some Kaigong practices focusing on cultivating an elixir?
Yeah.
Falun Gong, he says, is all about cultivating the law wheel and how it refines you.
Right. So it's not about like actively controlling your energy. It's more about like aligning yourself with this like intelligent force that kind of does the refining for you.
Right.
It's like spiritual autopilot or something.
Yeah. That's a great analogy.
And there's another important distinction, I think, right?
Yeah.
Some Kaigong practices, they focus on what Li Hongzhi calls the assistant consciousness. It's like thought to be more spiritually aware,
Right.
but less connected to like your everyday life, less in control.
Right.
Falun Gong, on the other hand, cultivates both your main consciousness and your physical body. It's about developing the whole person.
Precisely. And that ties back to the emphasis on character cultivation.
You're right.
On living those principles of truthfulness, compassion, and tolerance in every aspect of your life, your actions, your thoughts, everything.
Yeah, it's like weaving those principles into the very fabric of your being. So we're kind of seeing these threads connecting, right? Falun Gong, drawing from Buddhism, drawing from Kaiwan, but ultimately standing apart as its own unique system.
Its own thing.
With its own goals.
Exactly. And one of the things that makes Li Hongzhi's teaching so compelling is that he's not afraid to challenge conventional thinking, whether it's religious or scientific. Like, he asks us to look beyond what we think we know.
He definitely pushes those boundaries. He's talking about things like, the universe being remade 9 times,
All right.
the existence of other dimensions that we can like perceive with the third eye. It's not exactly mainstream stuff.
No, it's not your average, self-help book. And he doesn't shy away from critiquing what he sees as limitations in both religion and science.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. He suggests that both have become too narrow in their focus, missing the bigger picture of who we are and what the universe is all about.
He's saying we need to expand our understanding.
Yeah. Break free from those limitations. He actually calls for a breakthrough in our thinking. And he believes that Falun Gong can offer that breakthrough. It's a different way of seeing the world, a different way of understanding our place in it.
So we've gone through these core principles, the challenges, how it connects to other practices.
Right.
Even Li Hongzhi's critiques of how we typically see the world. But what does this all mean for, like, the average person? Like, why should someone care about Falun Gong? What's in it for them?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? I think Li Hongzhi would say that Falun Gong offers a path to, like, profound personal transformation.
Okay.
A way to cultivate your character, enhance your well-being, and awaken to a deeper understanding of yourself and the universe.
So it's not just about gaining those, like, supernatural powers. It's about becoming a better person.
Exactly. More complete, more compassionate. And he suggests that this personal transformation can actually ripple outwards, influencing the world around you and contributing to, a more harmonious and compassionate society.
So individual enlightenment can lead to a better world for everyone.
Yeah, that's the idea. It makes you think about how we prioritize things in life. Li Hongzhi talks about this idea of loss and gain. Are we willing to let go of certain attachments to gain something greater, something more enduring? What would we let go of to achieve that kind of transformation?
That's a great question to leave our listeners with. Definitely something to think about. And we've covered so much in this deep dive. But ultimately, exploring Falun Gong is a personal journey.
Absolutely. And we always encourage you to do your own research, dive into the material yourself, and come to your own conclusions.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks for joining us on this exploration of Falun Gong. And we'll catch you next time for another deep dive.